In this video, you'll learn about the various data types in Go. Broadly, there are three categories of data types in Golang: numbers, strings, and booleans. We'll go over each one separately. Numbers contain integers and float data types. Integers contain whole numbers and their negative counterparts, whereas floating point numbers contain decimals. Let's talk about integers first. Integers are classified into signed and unsigned. You can store positive as well as negative numbers in a signed integer, whereas only positive numbers in an unsigned integer. In signed integers, we have int 8, int 16, int 32, int 64 and plain int. The difference is the memory the value of the type occupies. For example, int 8 occupies 8 bits, int 16 occupies 16 bits and so on. Plain int occupies 32 bits if it's a 32-bit operating system and 64 bits if it's a 64-bit operating system. Append the letter U to these types for their unsigned version: uint8, uint16 and so on. Let's see this in action. I've declared two variables a and b by mentioning the type int. For C, the type is inferred from its value 3, which is also int. You can perform various operations on these variables. I've printed the multiplication of a and b and also a random calculation. For floating point numbers, we have float 32 and float 64. As I mentioned before, you can store decimal point values in float variables. So when I add 5 with 3.2 and store it in a variable, its value becomes 8.2. You also have complex types whose values contain two parts: the float real part and the imaginary part. Next, we have strings. Strings are a sequence of characters within quotes. I've declared two variables and assigned them to different strings. I've used the plus operator to join or concatenate these two strings. As you can see, both the strings are printed on the same line. Next, we'll look at the Boolean type. Variables of the Boolean type can contain either of two values, true or false. They are useful while using conditional statements or as flags. We'll look at what those are a little later. I have declared two variables h and I. For h, I haven't given it a value, and for the variable I have initialized it with true. When I print h, false will be printed, and that's the default value for a Boolean. In C and other languages, when you initialize a float variable with the value of an integer variable, it converts the integer value to float and then stores it. However, that's not the case with Go. In Golang, it would throw an error saying cannot use j, which is of the type int, as type float 32 in assignment. For this to work, you would first need to explicitly convert the int value to a float and then store it. Like so. Float 32, open the brackets and pass in an integer variable, in our case j. And when you print k, it will print the value of j, which is 7. This table shows us the 0 values for every data type. A 0 value is what is stored in a variable if it's not initialized. In other words, its default value. That's about it. You have learned the basic data types in Golang. In the description below, you'll see a link to the source code of this program and the tutorials repository. In the next video, we'll see about conditional statements in Golang. Stay tuned. Thanks for watching. Do like and subscribe for more on-point videos just like this one.